Here is intercollegiate rugby, matching Dartmouth and Stanford at West Point, New York.
Another in the weekly series of outstanding sports events of the Sunday Sports Spectacular.
Hi, everybody. Bud Palmer. Welcome to a rugby match here at the United States Military Academy at West Point. This afternoon, it is Dartmouth versus Stanford. I'm the first to say I know very little about rugby, but I hope that by the end of the afternoon, we'll all know a great deal more.
I joined the freshman football team at Dartmouth when I came to school, and I played guard. And during the winter, I found out that if you played rugby, you could carry the ball and sometime even score. And so I found this was a lot more fun than being battled around in the center of the line.
I was originally recruited to play football at Dartmouth by Coach Blackman, and I took my first plane ride, which would be unusual for anyone today, at age 17. I really didn't want to play football at all because I was very intent on becoming a physician. I didn't think I could do both. And somewhere along the line, they always said you have to have an activity, extracurricular activity. So I tried for a while, for a couple times, being a disc jockey on a WDCR, which was not my talent whatsoever. So, and I can't remember really how I got into rugby. Someone just talked to me, and it was a wonderful way to be involved in athletics without the intensity of football and regular practices. You could show up if you had time, if you had a test, or you didn't have to show up. And it was just a wonderful experience. We coached ourselves and gave us a lot of flexibility to still be involved in athletics and in a contact sport, but not have all the time commitment for football.
And I think I got involved with rugby probably the winter of my freshman year. After football season, rugby practice started down in the gym, and it seemed like a thing to do. It was probably some guys like Alan and John grabbed a hold of me and dragged me down there, and I went to Bermuda that spring of my freshman year, so I was kind of hooked at that point. It was.
I got into rugby the spring of my freshman year, and I guess I got in because of my friend Dick Leashing, who was, as you'll hear later, was a real inspiration to rugby at Dartmouth College during our era, and started playing spring of our freshman year, and then I gave up freshman football, gave up football the rest of the time. And so we played 2 seasons from there and through our senior year. So it was a great time to be playing rugby, and had a great time doing it. A lot of great experiences and met a lot of great people. So
This is Boots, an English sheepdog who does enjoy rugby and sees a great deal of rugby too. And his owner is Ed Lee, who's president of the Eastern Rugby Union. And on my right is Corey Ford, who is, I presume, the Dartmouth coach. Is that what the boys call you?
They call me Coach Bud. It's a friendly word. I happen to be living near the field, and they use my house as headquarters, and I suppose they can't be any the worse for it.
Corey was a great friend of the club sports, not only Dartmouth rugby, but also he had a boxing ring in his house, and he's a friend of the boxing team as well as the rugby team. He really was a great mentor of ours. After the games, we would often have some refreshments in his backyard, and he really got a big kick out of the rugby team, and eventually wrote the now famous articles that appeared in Sports Illustrated and Saturday Evening Post.
Why does rugby appeal to the American boys so much, Corey?
Well, that's a good question, Bud. I think the main reason that they go for it is the complete informality of the sport. It's done without any regimentation, any strict discipline. The boys run it themselves. They're self-coached and self-sustained, and I think that they get their kick out of that informal feeling.
I don't remember him ever really coaching rugby. He was called a coach, but he was sort of honorary coach, and he was very kind to us and opened up his house. He opened it up every year to usually 2 students he would invite to live in his house for room and board free, which was was very nice. I lived at his house for actually 2 years and a couple summers. And it was a very beautiful house, right close to campus on 1 North Balch Street, and very close to the rugby fields at that time.
I remember Corey primarily as a sort of a very intelligent looking, very interested looking bystander who would sort of hang around sometimes practice and just kind of stand there and watch without ever really saying anything. He had a very intelligent look about him. He just had a kind of keen, inquisitive, slightly humorous, as though the whole spectacle really interested him, and he found it kind of funny.
And he sort of didn't laugh out loud, but he chuckled. He also had a very distinctive way of raising his eyebrow. That was his expression of, well, this looks like a pretty ironic situation, and he had a very wry sense of humor.
All of you guys missed the fact that he always had that pipe clutched in his teeth, and he was probably one of the most disciplined persons I'd ever come across. What I heard is that he was a writer, but he would get up in the morning and he would go up to his study at some point in time, maybe it was 8 o'clock.
And he would write until 12:30 or 1, and Mrs. Burnham would fix his lunch, have lunch, and then he'd go back up and he'd come work until 5 or 5:30, and then we had cocktails. And that was the ritual every day. He'd come down and 5:30, and we'd have there were actually my senior year, there were 3 of us staying there, and we would sort of take turns having cocktails with it, because we couldn't, do that every night and study.
And he'd do that day after day after day, and writing these articles and well published in Field and Stream.
And he wrote in his career, I think, 30 books and over 500 articles and pieces, short stories.
This is Hazel Markell. Probably every man, woman, and child is familiar with the sentimental poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Now someone has finally come along and written an amusing plea for sympathy in behalf of all fathers who cope bravely with the Christmas cleanup detail. The author is Corey Ford, humorist and author of the popular new parody, "The Day Nothing Happened." His essay about the annual Yuletide aftermath, entitled "'Twas the Night After Christmas," is in the current issue of the Reader's Digest. How do you manage to cope with all the confusion of the Christmas holidays, Mr. Ford?
There's only one sure way to get through Christmas, as I see it. That's to board a ship in San Francisco and sail for the Orient, arranging to cross the international date line exactly at midnight on Christmas Eve. So the next day is the 26th, and you'll save enough in Yuletide bills alone to pay for the trip.
You don't really have anything against Santa Claus, do you?
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. Old Santa Claus has a lot of stockings to fill in a hurry on Christmas Eve, but on the morning of the 25th, he can hang up his white beard and relax for the rest of the year. I never see jolly old St. Nick coming back down my chimney again on Christmas morning to help me straighten up the living room or assemble the toys or write the thank you letters. His bag is empty, but I'm left holding it.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Ford. What's the most confusing gift that you ever received?
Well, I remember a piece of hand-painted pottery once we received that looked like a syrup jug, except that the handle turned and there was a place to screw it in the wall. We figured it might be a soap dish, but that didn't explain why it lighted up when we plugged it in. But I guess the most confusing of all was a little Christmas What's-It we got from Cousin Ellie that she knitted herself. We couldn't tell whether it went on top of something like a tea caddy or whether something went inside it like a hot water bottle, and that never explained what it was because I never heard of a hot water bottle with sleeves.
A final question, Mr. Ford. Some people say that the Christmas tree should be taken down on New Year's Day, and others argue that Twelfth Night is the time to do it. What do you advise?
Well, that's a good question. Now, personally, I just always leave it up till the following Christmas and save myself all the trouble.
Thank you very much, Mr. Corey Ford, humorist and author of The Day Nothing Happened, for this very amusing discussion on your current article, "'Twas the Night After Christmas." I'm sure our listeners will want to read it in its entirety in the current Reader's Digest. This is Hazel Markell.